the sun was its mortal enemy. As if, with all things sinful, the light brought forth the truth of the world, and this thing, this creature, had no uses for the truth. Now, he stood less than 3 yards from where it perched on the floor, slightly bent over the body of a cat, or what was left of one. There wasn't very much there, even though his eyes had adjusted to the lack of light. Scent still found it difficult to make out where the feline's limbs ended and where the creature's skeletal frame began. There was blood on the heavily scarred cement floor, along with patches of fur and organs. The killer didn't care for organs, whether they be human or animal. It only ever wanted one thing: blood. Just the blood. It had had to gnaw its way through flesh and muscle and bone to get to that blood. Patience was not something they lacked. The same was true for their appetite. They were insatiable, living only to feed. There was no telling what this one used to be, male or female, young or old. Once they turned, and the hairs fell out, they discarded all the things that made them human: clothing, sex organs, and any vanity or embarrassment. His mother and his grandfather called them obayifo. Maybe that was their real name, and maybe it wasn't. None of it mattered. What mattered was the here and now. In this dark basement, in this part of the city that had long ago pretended the house above him even existed. The creatures thrived in places like these, abandoned by civilized people, and only treaded by the bravest of the forgotten. Scent watched it, a part of him sickened by the sight. The other part was mesmerized. It truly was something that defied all laws of nature, not to mention God himself. And yet there it was, alive, but not really. Scent breathed in and out, in and out, each time forcing his heartbeat to return to its normal state. It took a lot of work, but he'd learned to control his emotions when he had to. He did that now, willing everything back to normalcy as he prepared himself. The creature finally stopped bothering with the cat and peered through the shadows at him, beady black eyes focusing in for the first time. Maybe it had sensed him, or smelled him, or more likely, it had heard the blood moving through his veins. They could do that. There was something extraordinary about them, despite their frail, malnourished appearance. It was one of the things that made them so complex. But there was nothing complex about the dark black eyes that zeroed in on him now. His breath quickened slightly, not by much, only the barest bit. It couldn't be helped. The heat of upcoming battle was something he couldn't ignore. Scent flexed his gloveless fingers around the handle of the knife in his right hand. The weapon was just slightly over 16 inches long, 11 of those making up the sharp blade that was slightly curved near the center. The remaining 6 inches made up the dark rosewood handle. Scent had seen militiamen carrying something like it back in his native Nigeria, and he'd always been fascinated. Later, he would learn it was patterned after something called a kukri. The one he held now looked similar to that traditional Nepalese knife, but was his own design, made specifically for his hand. The blade, too, was a novelty, mostly traditional metal with a thin coating of silver along the edge, a silver knife, essentially. The creature's eyes, tar pits devoid of whites, moved downward, leaving Scent's face and resting on the knife.